What's up, guys? TraderJud here, back with another weekly Forex Outlook video where I go over 10 different Forex pairs, 3 time frames per pair: the weekly, the daily, and the 4-hour time frame. I give you just an outlook of what I expect to happen in the coming week. Hopefully, this video is better than nothing. I know it's not exactly what we were looking for, but at least the video is back up. I am talking about the camera, of course. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. We're looking at EUR/USD like normal for the first pair. Last week's candlestick was a bearish engulfing that finally broke out of the consolidation zone. Looks like we retested previous market structure on the weekly time frame, so we'll see if that's a rejection off of that or not. But that is a very strong bearish candlestick. Dropping down to the daily time frame, this is the consolidation area that I was referring to. We can see the retest of the previous market structure. Our Friday's candlestick rejected that area and ended bullish, slightly bullish, but the rest of the week, with the exception to Tuesday, was bearish. So bearish on Monday, slightly bullish on Tuesday, bearish engulfing on Wednesday, bearish on Thursday with a retest of the consolidation area on Thursday as well, and then a rejection of the previous market structure on Friday that closed slightly bullish. Let's go ahead and drop down to, well, I'll explain the what I've got on here. I've got this horizontal line representing previous market structure, this horizontal line also representing previous market structure, and then this trend line and this trend line down here. You can see the points that the trend lines are drawn off of. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, you can see I've added a couple of other trend lines as well. I took away the consolidation box, and I've thrown in some zones. So this pretty much represents, or pretty well represents, I should say, where I expect price to go. These two horizontal lines based off of market structure in the consolidation area. This trend line up top, and then this trend line, which is the same trend line from the weekly, or from the daily, excuse me, and this trend line as well from the daily, and then the couple zones, which you can see where those zones are based off of. We can see Friday there was a lot of bullish movement to close Friday out, a bullish engulfing candle, the second to last candlestick on Friday, but we did have significant bearish movement on Thursday. So this is kind of what I see, what the options that we have. There's significant levels above and below where price is, and so we could see bullish movement and then reversals off of any of these horizontal lines. If not, then we could be looking for a retest of this daily trend line up here, or I guess I didn't have it drawn on the daily, but this trend line up here, if we do see break of this zone, then we'll be looking for breaks or tests of these zones down here. I don't expect price to break below this week, so thus the reason why I don't have anything else drawn until we have this significant level down here. But if it does break down below this level, I will update chart and throw it in the channel that I have all of my information in. But that's what I see with EUR/USD this week. We're going to move on to UJ next. Up next is going to be UJ. Like I said, last week's candlestick was bullish, pretty strong bullish candlestick. You can see the gap up, and then it looks like it continued bullish. It is going through the EMAs, so we'll see if this week is a rejection of those EMAs, which would be a bearish engulfing candle more than likely. Dropping down to the daily time frame, we can see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So Thursday and Friday both ended bearish, though the Friday's candlestick was stronger. It still was not engulfing of the previous 3 days of the week. And so Monday's was very strong, and then Tuesday and Wednesday were both bullish, though not as strong as Monday. I've added a couple of zones. This zone up top was drawn using this wick in the full body of this, and the reason why I drew it like that is so that I could get the touches, these 3 touches to that same area, as well as the rejections to the left of that. And then this zone on the bottom is drawn off of this candlestick, the wick, and the body. You can see I have a channel drawn as well, and then this trend line down below where price is as well. So let's go ahead and drop down to the 4-hour time frame. Oops, let me pull UJ up on the 4-hour time frame. That'd be good. So looking at the 4-hour time frame, I refined this zone a little bit, and instead of drawing this as a zone, I just draw it as 2 horizontal lines. So the 2 horizontal lines are based off of that point and then this point, and this zone is based off of this candlestick over here. And we'll zoom out so you can see all of the touches to that zone. Same channel drawn as I was drawn on the daily, and then you can see this zone drawn down below, or excuse me, this trend line drawn down below, and then the trend line where price is currently. So a couple of options for UJ. We could get a retest of the zone before continuing upward, or a retest of this trend line that's drawn before continuing upward, or we could see just straight bullish movement out of the gate coming up and retesting this horizontal line. If we do see a break of this trend line and a break of this zone, we'd be looking for a retest of the zone and or the trend line before continuing bearish. We can see that we did close the week with a bearish engulfing candle that did engulf a significant amount. However, we do have a lot of bullish movement to start the week out, as we saw in the higher time frames. So like I said, we could expect some sort of retracement, possibly down to the zone before continuing bullish, but I do think that it is a good likelihood that this will continue to go bullish. That's what I see for UJ this week. Gold is up next. Last week's candlestick was bearish, however it was not engulfing and it did not break through the 2 EMAs. We are still in this consolidation zone on gold, so that's something to keep an eye out on. However, it was a pretty strong bearish week last week for gold. Looking at the daily time frame, the zone up top is just the top of that consolidation area where we can see all of these rejections. And then the 2 horizontal lines are, the top one is the bottom of the consolidation area, and then this one is all of these rejections down here. So those are both significant. I've added a couple of trend lines as well, and this top trend line is not really all that significant. I just put it there. It's more of a reference than a legitimate trend line. And then the bottom one is more what I would call the legitimate trend line. Let's go ahead and drop down to the 4-hour. On the 4-hour time frame, same trend lines, same zone up top. I redrew this as a zone instead of drawing it as the horizontal line that it was on the daily. But it still is the same significance. You can see all the rejections on the 4-hour time frame of this zone, as well as the rejection over here, which is why I left it. And we can move this one around. Honestly, we could probably take this other horizontal line away because it is so close to the zone, but I chose to leave it. It's up to you whether you leave it on your chart or not. But the 2 options I see for gold, we do have what it looks like to be a rejection right here. So if it does continue bullish out of the gate, we should see another retest of this consolidation zone, the top of this zone. And then if we do see bearish movement, we'll be looking for a break and a retest, or just a break. Like I said, this trend line is not all that significant, but this zone down here is. So we're looking for price to react out of this zone more so than we are to react to this trend line. So once price enters this zone, if it does enter this zone this week, we'd be looking for a break out of this zone or a rejection of this zone. Either way, if we get a rejection, then we'll be looking for a retest and then continuation upward. If we do get a break out of the bottom, we'll be looking for a retest and then continuation down to this trend line down here. But that's what I see for gold this week. Let's go ahead and move on. EA is going to be up next. EURAUD. Last week's candlestick was a bearish hammer. But the previous week before that was bullish engulfing, and it was a rejection of the EMAs, so that's something to keep an eye on. Is a double top. There is significant wicks to the left. Going down to the daily time frame, Monday and Tuesday were bullish. Wednesday was a hammer. Thursday and Friday were both bearish. Friday's candlestick being closing in between the 2 EMAs. The EMAs are a little bit spread, but you can see the double top right here where price was a little bit confused. We had the perfect retest of previous market structure, and so we're looking to see what price will do coming out of that. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, we can see the perfect market structure retest right here a little bit more clearly. We had all of these rejections to that same area right here, as well as right here. And the double top you can see more clearly on the 4-hour time frame. Where we are with price right now, we can see potentially another test of this trend line. If not, then we'll be looking for this continuation downward, reaching these levels again more than likely. We could see it to slow up a little bit in this area. This is just a very large zone, which is why I didn't draw it. And it's besides that being that market structure right there, I really don't. It's hard for me to see where exactly that could reject. There are significant amount of rejections right here, but it doesn't line up perfectly with this area. And with that with that zone being so large, I didn't feel like drawing it was appropriate. But just to be aware that you could see some sort of rejections. In this area. So price could slow down, potentially reverse right there, something along those lines. If not, then it'll continue down to here, where I do believe that we should see it slow down, potentially reverse. If it does not, if it breaks down below, then we'll be looking for a retest of this trend line down here. Well, that's what I see for EA this week. Moving on. GN is going to be up next. Last week's candlestick had a significant wick to the upside, but closed just barely bullish. Dropping down to the daily time frame, you can see I added the horizontal line as well as this zone. This zone encompasses this consolidation area right here, which is why I drew it. We can see the 3 rejections right here, rejection right here, rejection right there, as well as all of these rejections to that same zone right here. I've added this trend line, but that is it on the daily. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, you can see Friday was extremely bearish. I mean, we covered a lot of ground on Friday, a whole bunch of ground on Friday. You can see this horizontal line lines up perfectly with this, so that was a retest of market structure. And then this horizontal line lines up with this double top right here, which is why it is drawn. And that's currently where price is sitting, is just on that area. So we'd be looking for either a clear-cut bullish rejection off of that horizontal line, or if it breaks down below, we could see a break and then a retest of that horizontal line before continuing down to this trend line. If it does break this trend line, then we'll be looking for a retest and then continuation down. If it respects this trend line, we'll be looking for possibly a retest of this horizontal line. If not, going back up and retesting this top area. That's what I see for GN this week. It's a pretty simple chart, nothing too wild and exciting, but it is significant. You see all these levels and why they're drawn on this level specifically. It should be pretty easy to see why that level is drawn. Oh, I've never had that happen. Reconnecting. All right, so this zone, or this horizontal line down here, 3 rejections over here as well as a rejection right here. You could draw that as a zone. I just drew it as a horizontal line, but it would probably be more appropriately drawn as a zone. But that's what I see for price this week on GN. Let's go ahead and move on to the next. AUD USD is going to be up next. Looking at the weekly time frame, we do have a bearish candle from last week. It was pretty significant in size. It is approaching previous market structure to the left, which would be this level right here. However, it has not reached that level yet. We do have all of these rejections right here as well, which is why many people thought this was going to go bullish. It looked like it was going to reject off of these levels. However, price did not. Not last week, but the previous week before that was a bearish engulfing candle. So we should have been expecting a bearish week this week, or this past week as well. Let's go ahead and drop down to the daily time frame. This zone right here is based off of this little wick right here, which is the previous market structure that I was referring to. Then I only have 2 other trend lines drawn. This one right here, which has 3 touches and then finally broke, but has not been retested yet. And we do have this trend line right here as well. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, we can more clearly see exactly what I was talking about. So where price is right now, we did have a rejection, which is technically based off of market structure to the left, just not the lowest point. So we did have that rejection right here, which is price lined up perfectly with last week. Then we had the bearish movement off of it. Price is still in between the EMAs though, so we could see a rejection off of that 20 EMA before dropping down to this zone. These arrows represent that very well. We'll either see what I expect to see as a retest of this trend line before continuing downward, which is represented with this, or just a continuation downward to this zone. If we do get a retest of this zone, we could see a rejection, bullish rejection off of it. If we do see a break, we're looking for a break and a retest before continuing downward. So that's it for AU this week. Like I said, a simple chart, but sometimes simplicity is the best way to go with Forex and with charting and all of that. So moving on to the next pair. All right, the next pair is going to be GBP USD on the weekly time frame. Last week's candlestick was extremely bearish, much like the week before that. So we had two substantial bearish candlesticks. This candlestick did break below the 20 EMA, so we'll see if this coming week is going to be bullish, breaking back up above those EMAs or not. Dropping down to the daily time frame, very simple chart here. Just a trend line and a zone. The reason why it's so simple is because that zone and that trend line are right in the same area. You could have drawn this as a channel, that wouldn't be wrong. You could have zoomed out and drawn a trend line from the highest point down to here if you would have liked as well. I chose not to do that for what I would consider to be obvious reasons. You could have drawn this double top zone as well, but we can see that pretty clearly. And I did draw it on the 4-hour time frame. So same zone right here that was drawn on the daily. The reason why I didn't extend it out any farther is because this area right here is not touching it. So this is simply just previous market structure. Very simple outlook on this. We could add some more levels such as this one right here. There's a level where price could stop. We have something like that. As well as if you wanted to draw this zone right here, which we'll go ahead and do. Just makes things pretty simple, easy to understand. We can draw that zone as well. So what I see for price this week, we did have significant bearish movement last week to end the week out. Very large bearish engulfing candles driving down into this bottom zone. If we do see continued bearish movement, then we'll be looking for a break and a retest of that trend line and of this zone. However, if we do see a bullish reversal pattern off of this zone, we'll be looking for price to come up to at least here, if not to up to these levels as well. So, and for those of you that are wondering why I say we do the 5 same pairs every week, the first 5, EU, UJ, Gold, EA, and GN, those are my pairs. I know that almost the entire time that I've been doing this, I've also been doing AU and GU. The reason why is because those are the 2 most requested pairs that I get. AU and GU I get requested every single week, so I've pretty much just added them into the pairs that I do every week because they are requested so often. I don't trade AU and GU nearly as much as I trade EU and UJ and Gold. Those are my primary USD pairs. However, I do trade setup bases. I tried not to go too far out. I know that 10 pairs is a lot of pairs to look out and to trade every week, and I don't trade 10 pairs a week. In fact, I probably don't make 10 trades a week. 10 trades for me in a week would be a substantial amount of trades. Because I primarily do swing trade or longer term trades. Every once in a while I do scalp. I have a pretty busy schedule, and so I don't do much scalping just because it takes a lot of time to sit in front of the computer and do that. And so I don't do nearly as much scalping as I do swing trading. However, if I do have a week where I don't have a lot to do, my schedule isn't totally filled up, then I will do some scalping, in which case obviously you'll have more than 10 trades in a week. But as far as swing trades go, I don't make more than usually 5 trades a week as far as swings go. And so I know that some people have asked, or some people have probably wondered why I do AU and GU every single week, and that is the biggest reason why, is because AU and GU are requested on a weekly basis. So just to inform you all that have wondered about that, that is the reason why. But enough talking, let's go ahead and move on to the next pair. Alright, EJ is going to be up next. Last week's candlestick was a pin bar to the upside, ending in a doji looking candlestick. No significant upward or downward movement. Really, even the wicks aren't that substantial on the weekly time frame, and so I'm going to leave this as a neutral candlestick. Looking at the daily time frame, we can see the zone drawn. It's based off of these wicks right here. And I have a few trend lines drawn. This bottom trend line right here based off of this wick down here, as well as this point right here, and then this trend line as well based off of this, and then this this candle, or excuse me, this trend line up top, which is the obvious 2 points that that's drawn off of, and then dropping down to the 4-hour time frame. We can see the trend lines more clearly now, as well as this horizontal line based off of these 3 touches and these rejections over here. This zone is based off of a few candlesticks. Honestly, this is not the proper way to draw a zone. That's not the way that I teach people how to draw zones. But the reason why I drew it like this is because we have so many rejections that just creep down and creep down and creep down, that I wanted to capture as many rejections as possible using a zone instead of drawing just horizontal line, horizontal line, horizontal line, horizontal line, horizontal line, and it only being 50 cents worth of price movement. So I drew this a little bit different. I drew it to try to encompass as many rejections as possible, and then this trend line, or excuse me, this zone down here is the same zone that I had drawn on the daily. So back to where price is currently. The arrows pretty much depict where price could go. We're looking for either a retest of this trend line, if not a break and then a retest and then continuation upward, or price to move into this zone that was drawn, reject out of the zone, or break down below the zone, and probably this trend line drawn before retesting the trend line and or the zone and dropping even further. So that is what I see for EJ this coming week. Honestly, I'd probably stay away from EJ this week specifically, unless we get clear-cut rejection off of this zone, or a clear rejection off of this trend line. That's about the only way that I would be trading EJ this week. If we do get a breakout of this this trend line and a retest, then you could sell, or excuse me, buy it for a pretty significant amount coming up to this horizontal line. But that's what I see for EJ this week. Let's go ahead and keep going. Alright, GBP JPY is going to be up next. Last week's candlestick on the weekly time frame was a bearish hammer. Dropping down to the daily time frame, you'll see I have this channel drawn, as well as this zone drawn. The zone encompassing these 3 points right here, these 2 right here, and this area right here, which price did break out of slightly before coming back in. We can see last week's candlesticks, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday were bullish, Thursday, and then Friday being a bearish engulfing candle that engulfed all of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday bullishness. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, got a few zones drawn in here. This bottom zone is the same zone that was drawn on the daily. This zone is based off of this candlestick right here. It had a few rejections in it, which is why I added it. And then this top zone based off of previous market structure. We can see the bearish significance on the 4-hour time frame much better. We had these huge bearish engulfing candles all of Friday. Every single 4-hour candlestick on Friday was bearish. Very strong bearish candlesticks. So what we're looking for is price is currently in this zone right here. We'd be looking for price to reject off of this and go up to this trend line possibly, or continue its bearish ways, break below, retest that zone, and then come back or come down to test the trend line down below where price is that was drawn on the daily channel, if you will. So that's what I see for GJ this week. Pretty simple, either bullish or bearish, which sounds funny, but we're looking for a significant bullish movement or significant bearish movement. Not a bunch of consolidation. I don't see that happening this week. So let's go ahead and move on to the final pair. UCAD is going to be the final pair this week. Looking at last week's candlestick, it did end bullish, though not a lot of significant movement. It is back above the EMAs. Price is currently above the EMAs, so something to watch out for. Looking at the daily time frame, you can see I have this zone drawn based off the previous market structure right here, as well as these 2 trend lines. It's easy to see the points that the trend lines are based off of. Dropping down to the 4-hour time frame, this is going to be another simple direction where price can go. It's currently sitting in this previous market structure zone. I left the zone the same size that it was on the daily time frame. However, we can adjust that. If you want to draw it more properly, I would say probably this would be the way that it would be drawn. When you draw it like this, it looks as though price has rejected it, which is appropriate. We can see the double top right here and the significant bearish movement out of that. However, the reason why I left it the size of the daily is because there was so much consolidation and so much rejections to these levels, and with this point right here, the second point going left to right, the rejected off of that zone. That's the reason why I left it this size. We zoom out, you can see this point right here is the point that I was referring to, and so price is currently sitting on that level, and we have multiple rejections to that level as well, which is why I left it the size that I did. Either way is fine. I don't prefer one way over the other. It's just something to be aware of, if nothing else. What we're looking for is price to either continue going bearish, reaching this trend line drawn down here. If not, then price to go back above this zone, retest it, and then continue up to this trend line up above. But that's UCAD for this week. Let me know if you've got any questions, any comments. As always, my Telegram contact information is in the description down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Support the channel by hitting the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. If you are, thank you very much. There are a few announcements that are going to come out this week. I will be putting out more videos this week, a significant amount of videos this week, depicting a few different things that we have going on. The Profit Society, there will be a video up about that this week. There will also be, I know I've talked about this for the past couple of weeks, but there will be an indicator 101 video on the relative strength index, as well as the normal crypto charting video on Wednesday. So again, if you have any questions, comments, or anything, reach out to me either through YouTube or through Telegram. I will do my best to get back to everybody as quickly as possible. And again, thank you for the support. This has been week number 12 already of the Forex Outlook video series. So again, thank you and take it easy. Have a good week.